Lae Police find and confiscate explosives. Australia not responsible for services to decommissioned centre. And COP23 to open in Germany tomorrow.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Monday's news. The Conference of Parties, or COP23 UN Climate Change Conference, will officially be opened in Bonn, Germany tomorrow. Today, the Climate Planet was launched, which will be showcased throughout the duration of COP23. Regardless of where we come from or how developed one nation can be, the Climate Planet signifies effects of the climate globally. President Fijian Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama emphasized during the launch that people remain to be the main threat to the health of the planet. Reiterating the importance of climate action was German Development Minister Dr. Gerd Müller, who said it is each and every person's responsibility globally to push climate action and stop deforestation and encourage reforestation. Over 20,000 people are expected to attend COP23 over the next 2 weeks in Bonn, Germany, uniting for climate action. EMTV's Florence Jonduo is also attending the COP23 conference. Meanwhile, Fiji this week will become the first small island nation to chair the 23rd United Nations Conference on Climate Change. 68 Fijian villages are being threatened by the effects of global warming, and 4 of them have already abandoned their coastal settlements and moved inland.
Yes, well, it's a bit like a ghost town here. There are 18 empty houses just like this one. The people of Wunidongoloa moved inland about 3 years ago, 2 kilometres inland, and it wasn't an easy move. You know, lots of challenges. There was the financial cost as well as the emotional cost, and other villages in Fiji are going to be following in their footsteps to try and avoid the high tides and storm surges sweeping through here. It's little wonder that the people of Fiji support their government's lead role at the Climate Change Conference in Bonn.
We bring a message from Fiji and the Pacific and the vulnerable nations of the world to say that enough is enough. We need the political will of the parties to make the changes necessary.
The question is, how much political weight does Fiji actually have on the world stage? It's a very small fish in a very big pond. Can it actually make a difference? Small island states make less than 1% of emissions, and yet they're the ones who are suffering. They're the ones at the forefront of climate change. Just ask any of the people from Wunidongoloa and they'll tell you how it's devastated their lives.
A groundbreaking ceremony last Friday at Enga Teachers College marked the beginning of construction of a 4-star male and female dormitory and a dining hall. It was an initiative of Pogera Joint Venture, partnering with the PNG government under the PNG Tax Credit Scheme. The project is worth 33 million kina.
The 3 buildings will contain a 4-story men's dormitory with 96 rooms to house at least 196 occupants. The 3-story women's dormitory will have 72 rooms and will cater for 144 occupants. The third is a 400-seat dining hall. Pogera Joint Venture Executive Managing Director Richmond Fenn said PJV is proud to partner with the PNG government under the tax credit scheme to manage the construction of the buildings.
These buildings, once completed, will be available to the college and complement the Enga provincial government's commitment and vision to education in the province.
Mr. Fenn praised Enga Governor Sir Peter Ipatas for his dedication in promoting education over the last 20 years. Enga Teachers College is not the first to receive such funding from PJV. Some other projects funded by PJV were the current greenhouse building and other schools in the province. Meanwhile, Governor Ipatas reminded his people to take ownership and look after properties and services in Enga. Sir Peter wants to see a change in his people's mindsets and attitudes and the cabbing of law and order.
But more importantly, the presence from all here, highway blowing me, suppose you got roadblock come up, or quick time no come straight. Time government no come, all come quick. So was you make a sample like I need lawyer, all come quick. Lo helping me. So time me get this law opportunity, me ask you me ogara, lo remember him osema. Ogara garden blo yimina. Yimi yet must supporting, yimi yet must look out.
Wabek Open MP Dr. Lino Tom, who was also present at the groundbreaking ceremony, supports the Enga governor for investing in education. Dr. Lino, who was also a product of IPATA's free education policy, encouraged for the government to invest in human resource.
Teachers play a very important role in developing that human resource.
The project will take at least 14 months to be completed and be used. Sir Peter encouraged his people to look after the facilities as it will attract students from other parts of PNG to go and study in Enga province. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
Here with Monday's news. When we come back, investigations into the supply of food at the Buimo Jail and Nurses Symposium begins in Kokopo. Those stories when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. A medical investigation on food supplies has been carried out at Lae's Buimo Jail by Morabis Provincial Health Department. The investigation was conducted after a detainee died of dysentery at Enga Hospital. 7 other detainees were also admitted and treated. They recovered and have returned to Buimo. Julie Badui-Owa with this report.
In September this year, there was an outbreak of dysentery at Lae's Buimo Jail. 8 detainees fell ill with the disease and were taken to Enga Hospital for treatment. One of the 8 died. Lae's Buimo Correction Service, the International Committee of Red Cross and Morabis Provincial Health Department have worked together to find out why. Buimo Prison Commander Felix Namane says he is yet to receive an official report of the investigation.
I'm told that there's nothing wrong in Buimo. The source should be from the visitors. So we already put that, made our way to the visitors.
There are also 56 confirmed and 34 suspected cases of TB at Buimo Jail. Because of overcrowding in the prison, the risk of disease spreading is very high. Namane has called on detainees visitors to be mindful when preparing and bringing food to the prison.
So when time of preparing, they have to bring good food in. That's because of one carelessness will affect our population in there. So we had an outbreak, and then unfortunately 1 life was lost, and we have 7 of them who were admitted at Enga General Hospital.
After an inspection of food supplies at Buimo by the International Committee of Red Cross, it was recommended that there should be a change in the detainees' diet. Buimo Correction Service has since included local produce and fruits to the detainees' diet. Namane said food rations into the prison is consistent, but regular issues of blankets, towels and uniforms for detainees isn't. Julie Badui-Owa, National MTV News, Lae.
The 14th P G Nurses Symposium began today in Kokopo. The event brought together nurses from all over the country to share ideas and identify a way forward to address health issues faced within the nursing fraternity. East New Britain Province will be the host for the week-long event. Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
The P G Nurses Symposium is an avenue that brings together nurses, particularly to discuss new ideas and find solutions to their problems faced within the health sector. Today, nurses from all over the country came together yet again for another year, and East New Britain played host to the week-long event held at the Catholic Diocesan Hall at Vunapope. The theme of this year's symposium is a voice to lead in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals through public-private partnership.
Achieving the Sustainable Development Goals through public-private partnership is a very broad theme. It may not sound well because nursing is only one group of healthcare professionals within the health sector.
The Public-Private Partnership, or PPP, has grown in popularity as it is considered by many as a way forward to fill in gaps in the public services left unattended by the national government. A good example is the work carried out by churches that runs and operates more than 50% of health clinics and schools in the country. And at the opening of the symposium today, the churches received a congratulatory applause for their work, of making sure that the health services continue to reach the bulk of the population, mostly in the remote areas of the country. The challenges faced by the health sector is no different to any other basic services.
This symposium provides a venue for you to come and learn new ideas to take back and improve health service delivery in your facilities.
Financial constraint is one aspect that has hit the sector, and those feeling the pinch are the nurses who are at the receiving end. The challenges they face are of immeasurable extent that includes working with limited medical supplies and ailing health infrastructures. This week, the nurses will discuss their experiences from their respective locations and how they can address some of these problems they face every day, and the inclusion of the PPP concept is expected to open up their perceptions of service delivery within the health sector. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
A group of leaders from the Southern Highlands say a state of emergency must be declared in the province. In a recent media conference held by runner-up candidates of the regional seat, they brushed aside reports of normalcy in the province, saying since Governor William Poi was declared, there has been growing tension within the province.
The group made an appeal to NEC to consider a state of emergency for Southern Highlands. They claim tensions are mounting as many in the province feel they have been ripped of their democratic right when William Poi was declared as governor under special circumstances. This, they also believe, has set bad precedents in the electoral process.
When the Electoral Commission has done that, the more than 75% of the population of Southern Highlands do not believe that they have an elected governor.
For Bernard Peter and Alfred Mune, who contested in the recent election, they say Poi's declaration does not represent the total voting population of Southern Highlands. They say since being declared, Poi has not returned to the province to bring normalcy and peace.
Please do it in the interest of the people of Southern Highlands. If there is a SOE that you need to send, do it. There's no government in that place.
I read in the newspapers that in Southern Highlands there's normalcy. Last week it was reported. Normalcy has returned to Southern Highlands. I dispute that. I don't think normalcy has come back to Southern Highlands yet.
Runner-up candidate Joseph Kobol, who filed an election petition last week, also made similar remarks. However, he says the Electoral Commission must also be involved in restoring peace in Southern Highlands.
And we also asked the government to look into it very seriously. The fraud squads, the Ombudsman Commission, if we have anybody in this country, and the government to take seriously to actions of Kamato, and it needs to be sacked or needs to be investigated as early as possible. If he does one today, in another election he will do 10. Then another electoral commissioner will come 20. And these people of this country will have not a freedom, a democratic elected leader in this country, and we're heading for disaster.
Meanwhile, the NEC has appointed former Assistant Police Commissioner Thomas Elu as acting provincial administrator, something Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said the province is in need to overcome a number of challenges. Mr. Elu will be tasked to engage with community leaders in restoring public confidence in the provincial administration. Stanley Ove Jr., National EMTV News.
The Australian government will not be responsible for the provision of basic services into the decommissioned Manus Regional Processing Centre. This was agreed to in court by the PNG Immigrations and Asylum Seekers, represented by lawyer Ben Lomai. Chief Justice Salamo India told both parties in the Supreme Court hearing today that the PNG courts do not have any jurisdiction over what the Australian federal government does on Manus Island.
Parties involved in this case include the asylum seekers as the appellant and PNG Immigration and Border Security Minister as the first respondent. The first part of the hearing today centered on who was responsible for the consequences of the closure of the detention center.
From the cut-off point of 31st, 5 p.m. onwards, who is now responsible for that? Is it the Australian government that is going to be responsible for the ongoing support for the detainees, or is it the people
to the decommissioned center?
Discuss with us on the bar table and the bench that the PNG should now be seen to be responsible, because once the Australians leave the centre, the PNG government should assume responsibility.
The refugees' lawyer Ben Lomai was seeking 3 orders from the Supreme Court today. These include the restoration of food, water and electricity supply into the decommissioned centre.
As we speak, I'm instructed there's no water, there's no food, there's no medical service, there's no electricity. So we need an order to restore those.
Lomai submitted that under the PNG Immigration Act, authorities cannot force a person to settle in a place when the individual refuses to. These submissions were based on grounds that there was a breach in the constitutional rights of the main appellant and fellow refugees.
That's a right under the PNG Constitution, and they have to comply with that right. You can't force anybody to a location that he or she does not want to go. It's a constitutional right which we are telling the court that should not happen.
But Minister Thomas's lawyer objected to this and told the court there is food, accommodation, water and electricity supply at the new site. He said the appellant has always wanted to be moved out of the detention centre, but when the centre was actually closed last Tuesday, the appellant is now refusing to move out. Meanwhile, in Lombrum Naval Base, the area surrounding the decommissioned centre remains restricted to the public, including media personnel.
There's only 2 that were gazetted. That's the East Lorengau Transit Centre and Lombrum Transit Centre, in which case my clients are currently now residing at the Lombrum Detention Centre. So we say to move them to an illegal centre is unconstitutional.
There is a joint police and defence force presence on the ground. This matter returns to court for a decision tomorrow morning.
And to move them against the will is illegal and unconstitutional. And
Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
And New Zealand has offered to take in 150 refugees, but this has been refused by Australia. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern met with Australia's Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull yesterday.
Lawyers were arguing for a court to mandate better treatment of the 600 former detainees today. Meanwhile, Papua New Guinea's Immigration Minister Petrus Thomas said it would very much appreciate New Zealand's assistance, stating it's Australia's responsibility to settle the detainees in a third country. Australia's opposition agrees that our offer to take 150 refugees should be taken up.
We do accept and we thank New Zealand for their generosity. They should be asking the Americans to expedite the US resettlement arrangement, and they should be accepting this offer from New Zealand.
My intent is to continue to work through the Australian government, and while that offer remains on the table, there is no reason to work with anyone other than the Australian government on this issue.
But the most important player, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, remains unmoved.
We thank New Zealand for making that offer. We are not taking it up at this time.
But time is running out for the detainees.
Lae Police confiscated large amounts of explosives today from a company premises operating out of East Taraka area. The road construction company, which is no longer operating, had on site these explosives. Police searched the premises after obtaining information from a wanted criminal they captured last week.
These explosives were recovered from a company premises earlier today. The foreign road construction company kept these explosives on site even after they ceased operations.
All suppose talk not at work more, so the explosive would have been taken away and locked in a secure area by the relevant authorities. But they've been kept in the company premises.
Earlier this year, police recovered stolen explosives in West Taraka. Police captured one of the suspects last week who said the explosives were stolen from the company's premises. A search warrant was obtained and the explosives were found in a 20-foot container.
Previous break-in this all explosives already taken, so we have been receiving threats, information that explosives will be used for purposes of carrying out criminal activities. So,
Lae Metropolitan Commander Anthony Wagambi Jr. says such items pose as a threat to the general public.
It's a danger to everybody, even those people who had stolen those explosives, and danger long haul too, because they don't know how to handle these things.
Wagambi says these unused explosives should be reported to the authorities.
If any other companies you are holding on to explosives and you do not have work for it, you have to report it to police immediately.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lae.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3115 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.304 $0.3934 Australian dollars, €0.258 and 34.33 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, cocoa and copper closed higher, while coffee closed the day lower. Crude oil is trading higher, while palm oil and copper closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 22 points higher, the ASX is 6 points lower, and the All Ordinaries 3 points lower. Here with National EMTV News, stories making headlines overseas when we come back, including the latest mass shooting in the United States. Stay with us for the details. Welcome back to EMTV News. There's been another deadly shooting in the United States. This time, church-goers attending Sunday Mass were the target. 27 people, including children, were gunned down by a lone shooter who walked into a Baptist church in the tiny Texas town of Sutherland Springs. The gunman was killed after a brief car chase with police.
Mid-morning on a Sunday, and like millions of Americans, the people of Sutherland Springs were at worship. In the First Baptist Church, the serenity was shattered when a man opened fire at a service normally attended by around 50 people. The church pastor's 14-year-old daughter is reportedly among the dead. One woman who works at a shop close to the church described how she took shelter when the shooting began.
I'm about 50 yards away. There's a row of houses. We went running outside when we heard the shots, and then we looked at each other and said, I'm not going to be outside for bullets to fly, because we heard ricochet. So we went back into the store, and we had a couple of customers in there, and we made sure that they were safe and everything. And then the owner decided to go ahead and close the store for a little while.
A short time after the shooting, the local sheriff said the gunman was down, reportedly after a search or pursuit. As the news spread, the United States embraced a familiar ritual, with public figures focusing on the need for prayer. President Trump, on a tour of Asia, tweeted, "May God be with the people of Sutherland Springs, Texas. The FBI and law enforcement are on the scene. I am monitoring the situation from Japan." This latest mass shooting comes a month after a gunman opened fire in Las Vegas, killing 58 people, and 2 years after a white supremacist shot dead 9 in a church in South Carolina. Now the tiny community of Sutherland Springs adds its name to the roll call of mass shootings.
There's been another twist in the sexual misconduct scandal engulfing British Parliament. This time, it involves the Prime Minister's most senior minister. Theresa May's deputy, Damien Green, has been urged to step down after it was revealed that police found pornography on his office computer 9 years ago.
He is one of Theresa May's most senior and most trusted ministers, but Damien Green's reputation is under threat. He's already being investigated by Whitehall officials over allegations he acted improperly towards a young journalist, claims he denies. And now, an allegation that pornography was found on a computer in his House of Commons office nearly 10 years ago. This claim dates from 2008, when his office was raided by police investigating leaks from the Home Office. These two have never seen eye to eye since then. Bob Quick was the man in charge of that investigation and the main, though not the only, source alleging that pornographic material was found, though there's no suggestion that any of the material was illegal. So, in a robust statement, Damien Green said, "This story is completely untrue, a disreputable political smear. The police have never suggested to me that improper material was found on my parliamentary computer." And Bob Quick's successor in the Metropolitan Police has told the BBC he had no knowledge of the pornography allegations. But Bob Quick says he stands by his story and will present evidence to the Whitehall inquiry into Damien Green tomorrow. But allegations of wrongdoing aren't confined to one political party. Jeremy Corbyn answered questions for the first time on why Kelvin Hopkins had been appointed to his shadow cabinet after he'd been reprimanded over claims of improper behaviour.
He had been reprimanded. The case had been closed. I thought it was reasonable to appoint him, albeit for a very short time, to shadow cabinet.
Tomorrow, party leaders will meet to discuss new ways of tackling harassment. But so far, there's been no sign that they're entirely in control of events.
US President Donald Trump has begun his 12-day tour of Asia. He addressed US troops in Japan and made a thinly veiled threat to North Korea that no nation should underestimate America's resolve to keep peace and defend freedom.
Sunny skies, Air Force One touched down at Yokota Air Base just outside Tokyo. With a military band playing Hail to the Chief and a stage flanked by fighter jets, President Trump was given a rock star welcome by 2,000 US troops stationed here in Japan. When he spoke, it was of America's overwhelming military might. And without naming the country directly, this veiled threat to North Korea's dictator Kim Jong-un.
No one, no dictator, no regime, and no nation should underestimate ever American resolve.
Minutes later, Marine One whisked the president to another of his favourite places, a golf course. There waiting to welcome him, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. These two are now such close friends, Mr. Abe had special hats made up for the occasion. Donald and Shinzo, it reads, make alliance even greater. Not the most catchy slogan, but you get the point. Then it was time to hit the fairway. Mr. Abe has deliberately cast himself as Donald Trump's #1 friend in Asia. And today he got his payoff. President Trump lavished praise on him and Japan, calling it a treasured partner and crucial ally. On Monday, the US president will fulfill another long-held ambition, an official welcome from Japan's emperor.
Yeah, with National EMTV News, Trukai Sports is next. We'll rewind to the Kumuls' win against Ireland yesterday. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with Rugby League, and in the World Cup, the Kumuls beat Ireland 14 points to 6 yesterday in front of a sold-out Oil Search National Football Stadium. A Watson Boas try 2 minutes before full-time secured the Kumuls spot in the quarter-finals.
So here we go, ready to rock and roll.
Team Ireland went into the field well prepared for the Kumuls. From the kickoff, it was clear that the Irish meant business with their hard straight running as they charged out of the line in the opening set.
Run into the wing, oh gee, there's a big shot.
The Irish were the first to post points 4 minutes into the match after a breakdown in play in the Kumuls territory.
Back infield, it's been allowed to bounce. There could be a try on coming. Oh, they've grounded it in the end. But
following the opening try, the match fell into an arm wrestle as PNG started to work their way back into good field position after being stuck in their own half for most of the opening quarter. In the 16th minute, fan favourite Gary Lowe bypassed 7 Irish defenders to plant one down and give PNG their first 4 points. The conversion kick was unsuccessful, leaving the scores at 6-4. After repeated raids on the Irish line, PNG finally broke through and hit the lead for the first time of the match through Nene McDonald after great lead-up play from Ase Boas. Another missed conversion kick saw the scores at 8-6, with Ireland still in the contest despite having few attacking opportunities. In the second half, errors from both teams was what prevented them from building momentum.
By Martin, and he's undone.
Both teams spent most of the second half testing each other's defense. The final 5 minutes saw PNG start to protect their 2-point lead as Ireland turned up the heat, desperately trying to keep their World Cup dream alive. But in the 77th minute, Ireland's dreams were shattered as Kumul's halfback Watson Boas collected a loose ball running 20 meters to score in what was an entertaining matchup.
It's been given by Matt Checken, and the crowd going absolutely crazy here in Port Moresby. Come on, Michael Marum, give us a smile. This match now surely is done and dusted.
Kumul's captain David Mead says the team could have performed better.
Yeah, definitely. We've got guys who can break the line, on their own. So probably just got too excited, and we're trying to score points like we did last week, and just got too excited. Didn't respect the Ireland team as much as we probably should have. We didn't really earn the right to play out the back kind of football. Where I thought last week we played tough, held onto the ball and completed our set. So something we definitely will look at fixing this week.
Yeah, no, I think first 2 kicks wasn't good enough. I think we trained on it, but we just first half we were going against the wind, made it difficult. Second half, I think there was a lot of kickers in the game. So the Bob is speaking to halves again, make sure they control that part. Okay, getting ready on the tackle 5, getting good quality kicks out. So, and that's just important for us. So in order for us to play well against USA. So yeah.
Next weekend.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Still on that match, the Watson Boas try may all but ensured Papua New Guinea a place in the knockout stages of the Rugby League Cup since the year 2000. However, Kumul winger Gary Lowe's rampaging solo try was one of the highlights of the tournament. Lowe outmuscled half of the Irish players before going over for the Kumul's first try.
I think about 11 from the Kumul's.
Gary Lowe has just added himself to the list of some of Rugby League's hardest men to tackle after this individual effort.
Gary Lowe, can he get there? He can't, but good rushing, still going low, still going, oh, he's unstoppable! Gary Lowe goes in to score, the Kumul's first try of the afternoon!
Busting through 6 Island defenders to magically find a try line in his second World Cup appearance, the Kumul's winger joined Tonga's Jason Tamalolo and Andrew Fifita and US Tomahawks Junior Paulo as the hard hitters of the game. Lowe's hard-hitting run has been compared to Parramatta's Semi Radradra as the perfect replacement, minus the height. The Western Highlands native has won the hearts of the PNG fans with his fast-paced, wrecking ball-like runs that can sometimes take half the team to put him down.
Now here's Lowe pushing away from 2 and 3.
For the Irish Wolfhounds, containing Lowe was a nightmare. Ireland at some stage needed the whole 13 to put the shoulder in as the fast-finishing winger makes a mockery of their right edge, weaving his way through a shaky wall of green.
Side, but the line breaks, they are well ahead.
Lowe has spent the past 2 seasons with English champion side Sheffield Eagles, signing a 2-year deal with Super League minor premiers Castleford Tigers, beginning in 2018.
It'll be another goal line dropout for Ireland.
The Kumul's winger ended the first half with a whooping 12 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks and 1 try, running on 9 occasions for 105 meters.
Let's go down to Steve now.
Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
Good rushing, still going low, still going.
And Trukai Sports continues after these messages. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The race that stops the nation is just hours away. Pacific Racing and Sports Betting Shop in Port Moresby started receiving bets for the Melbourne Cup as early as Saturday. The betting shop is expecting a huge turnout as new punters, together with their regulars, get a chance to win in the nation's biggest race of the year.
Worth $6.2 million, it's the event that stops the nation, the Melbourne Cup, and it is only one slip away. Punters around PNG will flock to their nearest betting shops to bet on their favourite horse. Pacific Racing will be busy come tomorrow with its punters hoping for a payout of up to 100,000 kina. Bets range from as low as 2 kina to 20 kina and 100 kina for VIP.
Actually, we started taking bets on Saturday because we were waiting for the final field for Melbourne Cup, which has already came out. But the punters will slowly come. So we are just expecting more punters to come tomorrow.
While most of the punters have cited their winning numbers, other punters who were at the Pacific Racing betting shop today gave away tips to help those still sitting on the fence.
Mi camlo cups lo Aston, mi lay bet lo Melbourne Cup. Tomorrow's Melbourne Cup, tip lo mi most 9.
La Melbourne Cup tomorrow, mi play can bet now. I'm also mi play got interest lo when I'm most mi play can play. So me at me base long house 15.
Favourites for tomorrow's Melbourne Cup at number 2 Almandine, 3 Humidor, 5 Mamelo and number 7 Vermia. Pacific Racing betting shop will be opening its doors at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow, and opportunity for punters yet to bet on their favourite horse early. Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports.
Meanwhile, thousands have lined the streets of Victoria today for the traditional Melbourne Cup Parade. The Kiwi contingent in the race is down to 1 with the scratching of who shot the barman. 3 Kiwi jockeys are still on the field, and for at least one of them, it's hard to believe.
Extra horsepower under the trunk, Melbourne Cup Parade Day is a comfortable ride. But tomorrow, Corey Parrish will be out of his seat, riding instead in the race of his life.
It's something that you dream for so long, and you just hope that maybe your luck changes, and for it to change this quickly is quite surreal.
The Kiwi jockey and his family put it all on the line, chasing a moment just like this. He left New Zealand $45,000 in debt, spent years working part-time, chasing his dream. And last month on Boom Time at the Caulfield Cup, won $98,000 in his first Group 1 win.
Just riding in the Caulfield Cup, I was happy about it, and then to top it off with a win was just unbelievable.
Now, with the Kiwi contingent thinning, the hopes of the nation weigh greater on him. 3 Kiwi jockeys, including Parrish, will fly the flag for New Zealand in tomorrow's race. But the hopes for the horses are notably slimmer. 2 late scratches to Who Shot the Barman and John Snow mean the Kiwi chances are down to 1. Humidor, though, is one of the best. A neck's length from beating Wonder Horse Winks at last month's Cox Plate in Melbourne, and trained by the legendary Darren Weir, the man behind New Zealand's last Cup winner, Prince of Penzance, in 2015.
The history behind New Zealand studs breeding stays is unbelievable, so if they could get another one, I'd certainly be happy.
Still a strong Kiwi presence at the Cup in Melbourne, hoping tomorrow for a reason to dance.
And to football now, the All Whites Legions arrived in Wellington ahead of their FIFA World Cup qualifier showdown against Peru. The bulk of the squad held their first training session as Captain Winston Reid and striker Chris Wood touched down this afternoon, 5 days from kickoff in the Intercontinental Playoff for a place in Russia.
Jet-lagged and a little jaded, the All Whites Premier League contingent weren't quite ready for action as they arrived home.
Just caught me off guard. I just got off a 30-hour flight.
The big players for the big occasion playing down the hype ahead of Saturday's showdown at Westpac Stadium.
No, it's just another game of football at the end of the day for us, so that's what we have to focus on.
But it won't be just any other game for Jeremy Brockie, back in the squad for the first time in more than a year.
It's been a while, eh?
Stays calm. Oh, he's missed it! A penalty shootout miss in last year's Oceania Nations Cup final was shaping as his last act in an all-white shirt.
Hope started to deteriorate pretty quickly, but when I got the call, it was like being called up for the first time again, I guess.
He's earned it with some spectacular form for his club side in South Africa. A recent trip to Tunisia giving him a crash course in hostile environments.
60,000 fans already there, shining the lasers in your eyes and putting big banners up with reading about the devil and things like that.
But it's his experience in South Africa as part of the 2010 all-white squad that'll prove valuable this week as the next generation seek to follow the footsteps of the senior stars.
They tell us how amazing the whole experience was, and I know all the boys want to have that feeling and want to be a part of something like that, and it's a massive driving force.
And while the challenge presented by Peru is a big one, these players aren't lacking belief.
I think we've got a great chance.
The All Whites Premier League pros ready to give the team the lift they need.
And that ends True Kai Sports. When we come back, the weather for the next 24 hours. Stay tuned.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. A shower or two expected in Port Moresby, Daru and Popondetta. Mostly fine for Kerma and Alatau. To the Momasa region, light showers in Wau, mostly fine for Lae, Madang and Wewak. Brief showers expected in Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, a shower or two expected in Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul. Showers and thunderstorms for Lorengau. Brief showers for Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centers can expect thundery showers over the next 24 hours.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the way it is this Monday, beginning another working week on the 6th of November 2017. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.